So my name is Joey Nardone, and my client, his name is Brady Anderson. He's 24 years old. I had two differential diagnoses for my client. I had specific phobia, which was ruled out, and that was because I had agoraphobia as ruled in because it was a better fit as it suited his symptoms more than just specific phobia, which was more general. When it comes to the primary diagnostic criteria, it says that they had to experience two of the four fears, which were being home alone, open spaces or enclosed spaces, in crowded places or in lines, and public transportation. And my client fits being in crowds alone without company or being in public transportation. He could not do that on his own either. His story is that when he was younger, he had a panic attack when going on a bus, and he ended up having to have his sister ride the bus with him or he would have panic attacks, and it ended up worsening throughout his life. He ended up becoming more and more uncomfortable. He couldn't function anymore. He couldn't go to work. He was calling out. His grades were suffering and he was not doing well. He was depending on his family to run errands for him, and he still is. He had to quit his job and he had to break his lease, which he couldn't afford to do, so it only caused more financial pressure. He has an Axis 1 diagnosis of agoraphobia. Axis 2, there was none. And Axis 3, there was none. And prior to the diagnosis for Axis 4, he did not experience anything else at all until he developed these symptoms. And the perspectives that I applied to this were the behavioral perspective and the cognitive perspective. For the behavioral perspective, the client's symptoms may have been due to a faulty learning experience. His first fear and anxiety that led to a panic attack on the bus resulted in classical conditioning, which he associated riding the bus and experiencing all the symptoms, like his heart racing and difficulty catching his breath. The client then experienced operant conditioning because he went to avoid triggering this behavior. So by avoiding it, he was negatively reinforcing his behavior. And then for the cognitive perspective, he had an irrational belief. He knew that it was irrational, but he couldn't help preventing the way that he felt. So even though he understood it, he couldn't do anything to change it. So every time that he had to ride public transportation, he thought he was going to die, or crossing a bridge, he thought he was going to die. When he leaves home without a companion, it ends up fueling his anxiety. And it's automatic thinking because he, like I said, he knows that it doesn't make sense, but yet it happens automatically and it's a reaction. So he catastrophically exaggerates his thinking, which is what makes us put it into the cognitive perspective. And that is it about our friend Brady.